Welcome to the Mama Making Podcast, a space for moms figuring it out in real time, at home, at work, and everywhere in between. Hosted by me, Jessica Lamb, this show is here to help you feel a little less alone in the mess and magic of motherhood. Each week brings a mix of solo reflections, expert interviews, and real stories from moms leaning into themselves, whether that's into parenting, into entrepreneurship, or just surviving the day. Because there's no one way to do motherhood, and you don't have to do it alone. If that sounds like your kind of vibe, make sure to follow the show, share it with a friend, and keep showing up, exactly as you are. This episode of the Mama Making Podcast is sponsored by Collabs Creative. If you're a mom building a business and trying to do it without a roadmap, you're so not alone. That's exactly why I started Collabs Creative, to help founders like you tell your story, grow your brand, and actually connect with the people you're meant to serve. From social media strategy to full-on content creation, we do grassroots marketing that feels real, because it is. If you're ready to stop throwing things at the wall to see what sticks and start showing up like the founder you already are, head to collabscreative.com and let's start building something good. Now let's get on to the episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mama Making Podcast. I'm your host, Jessica. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. If you're not new, then welcome back. Today, I am so excited to have Dr. Margo Lowy on the podcast. Dr. Lowy is a psychotherapist specializing in maternal mental health, and she is the author of Maternal Ambivalence. The book explores everything real about motherhood, conflicting emotions, reframing what they look like to be more normal and meaningful for us. I'm really excited to get into the book, but firstly, I want to learn more about you. Tell me who you are, where you're from, and whatever you're comfortable sharing.
Okay, thanks, Jessica. Great to meet with you. And I liked your introduction, the way that you described my work and my book. Thanks a lot. And the book's actually called Maternal Ambivalence, The Loving Moments and Bitter Truths. So that says a lot.
Yes.
Okay, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I've done some work on other areas of mothering. I actually wrote a thesis on infertility. So I'm really interested in this area. And in about 2000, I started to go into psychotherapy. I'm a social worker. And then when my third child, my daughter, was approaching the time that she was going to be doing her final exams, I thought I'd better stick around at home and be there for her when she needed me. So in around 2010, I started to explore areas of mothering. I'm really fascinated with mothering. And in my psychotherapy work, what I found is that there was always what I call an empty chair in my room for the mother. And there was a lot of talk about the client's mother, about her place, and about their relationship. And really, it came into a lot of our conversations. And most of my work has been one-on-one with women, the relationships, this kind of work. So I decided that I wanted to find an area of mothering that hadn't really been explored, because there's a lot of work on mothering. And I wanted to find I like areas that are a little bit taboo, because I think there's a lot of in there that we can uncover. So I was looking through the work and I found a book by someone called Dr. Rosika Parker about maternal ambivalence. She described it as the mother's loving and hating feelings. And when I read that, I was absolutely horrified, but equally I was drawn to it. So, and I think this is probably how I would describe my work. It's something that is really taboo, that we don't go into, but equally that we know we need to go into. And I've redefined that over the years, because I did a PhD on this work, and then I wrote an academic book on maternal ambivalence. And after I wrote that book, I really decided that I really wanted to write a conversational book and really reach all mothers, partners, parents, just so that we had this area of mothering that hasn't really been explored. And how I describe maternal ambivalence is the mother's capacity to engage with all her feelings. the loving feelings and the bitter feelings. So the feelings of enjoyment and the feelings of sorrow, the feelings of energy and the feelings of exhaustion, the feelings of loss and the feelings of contentment, all those feelings. And I think as mothers, we don't really want to go into those difficult feelings. And what I believe is that there's a lot of value in these difficult feelings, that mothering was designed for us to try and understand ourselves and our children through these feelings, and that if we ignore them or try and push them away, they're going to come up somewhere. And our children, as we both know, we've both got children, they know where to how to push our buttons, and they know when we're not being truthful. So I've been really, I've really been encouraged by my clinical work, by my previous writing, by my own experience as a mother, and also by film. I really, um, I really think that any kind of art form, creative art form, whether it's film, whether it's painting, whether it's sculpture, whether it's literature, whatever it is, and television series, they're mediums of helping us to understand ourselves. And whenever I see whatever film I see, whatever artwork I see, I always do it through the lens of mothering and maternal ambivalence. I just can't help it. That's what I do, and I can find it anywhere and really think about what it means. And the positive thing about film and about television series is we can look at these mothering experiences and not feel threatened, and we can learn from them. It's like a safe way of trying to understand ourselves and our mothering. And I suppose in a nutshell, that's really what I do. I'm trying to understand my mothering and my writing, and by speaking to people like you, Jessica, and other people, and learning about other people's experience, it just deepens my knowledge, which I can then share with other people. So that's what I love to do. So that's how come we're here together today.
Yeah. So you talk about maternal ambivalence of this like push and pull, the positive and the negative. I feel like we are, as a society, able to discuss the love-hate relationship we have with literally everything else, whether it's our spouse or our work or whatever it might be. But why is it so taboo to talk about in motherhood?
Okay, well that's so central to what I do, and I think you've found that that point. I think that I think it's actually, but when you say it like that, it's becoming very popular to be able to talk about, or to be open about all our feelings with our partners, perhaps even with our parents, with
Yeah.
our friends, and it's kind of, and our work, and that's kind of popular. I think that it's really taboo with one's child because there's an image or an archetype or a tradition of a mother to be all caring, 100% present, 100% loving all the time. And this conflicts with talking about our genuine feelings. So I think, and then I think that if you talk about those feelings, other people label you, and more so, one labels oneself as not a good mother, and that I'm doing something wrong. There's something wrong with me. And what I'm saying is, let's lean into these feelings. Let's dive into them, and let's really let them help us to understand ourselves. I mean, why really, when you're thinking rationally, why can't you have those feelings? And I think it's partly also because of the power we have over our children, especially when they're little. And there's a sense that um, maybe it's about harming them or doing something wrong to them. It's absolutely not about that. It's about exploring our feelings and really trying to relate to our children in a more genuine way, because we have these feelings, and then they can relate to us in a genuine way. And in saying that, I defy any mother who is a hands-on mother to say that at times she is not frustrated, bored, pulling her hair out too much. And at the same time, we desperately love our children. So it's such an interesting, intense relationship. And I think that's the other part of it. Being a mum is so intense.
Yeah,
It's,
agreed.
you know, whether you've born the baby yourself or whether you're an adopted mother or whether you've had the baby through surrogacy, it's so intense. It's it's almost like we put so much of ourselves into this relationship. We're so invested in this relationship like no other relationship. And maybe that's why it's so difficult. And there's the power imbalance, I guess, especially when they're young, that we really it's a taboo area, which I'm trying to disrupt.
Yeah, and I think something important that you said was that we put this label on ourselves about being a bad mom or not being the perfect mom or the one time we lashed out and yelled and wished we didn't. We are thinking about it for weeks on end. What are some of the ways that you have found, both in your clinical work and then maybe in writing this book as well? What have you found that is helping to kind of start immediate thought process that we have to blame ourselves or putting different language to how we feel?
Well, I think there's a lot of things in that question. The first thing when you were talking, I was thinking about how really of course, we put so much into our mothering, but there is the social pressure that we engage with. One of my main focuses in my work on maternal ambivalence is to encourage flow, like flow in mothering. Now, when we have those feelings, the shame and the guilt and those kind of difficult feelings, in a sense, they stop us. They don't allow us to flow. So what happens is, and it was really interesting what you said about feeling guilty that you lashed out, because I think we hold those feelings forever. Like
Yes.
we can remember the exact time that it happened. And the reason I got a bit stumped there for a second is because I had so many thoughts about it. And one of the ways I think about it in my book is I make a distinction between shame and guilt.
Mm,
And I think when we're guilty, we feel we've done something that we don't like, but we're able to, in a sense, say, I didn't like what I did. I don't like it. Maybe I apologize. And we kind of let it go and we're able to get on with our lives, but we are triggered. We can remember it years later. That's one thing. I think that's different from shame because in shame, when you do something wrong, your whole body and your whole being is tied up with you thinking you're not a good mother.
mhm.
And one of the examples I give in the book is that there's a young woman who feels quite ashamed about her mothering. Everything that she does, she labels herself. Like if her daughter gets sunburned, she's a bad mother. Her daughter sleeps through the night, she's good. If she falls and hurts her knee, she's not a good mother. If she manages to swing on the swing, she's a good mother. How exhausting is this?
Mhm.
Anyway, the story I tell is about this is exhausting this mother. And she's starting to think about herself as a mother. And then she reads around the topic and then she realizes that she's actually mothering the way that she was mothered herself. And that's like such a epiphany for her. So she's reading about this and she's quite anxious or upset about broaching this with her own mother, but she needs to do it. They're at the park one day. I love the park. I use the park a lot. They're at the park one day with her daughter and she's swinging her on the swing. And her mother, which is the grandmother of the little girl, says, You're swinging her too high. She's going to fall over. And then she just absolutely understands what her life's like. So she turns around to her mum and says, Listen, mum, you've been a great mother to me. I love you. But what I really need to say to you is this is my time with with my daughter. I'm going to make mistakes, but it's my job to look after her. I will fail and I'll fix it up and that's what I'm going to do. It's your opportunity as a grandmother to have fun with her. So she moved from this position with flow to feeling like she's not a good mother, to realizing that there are situations that she makes mistakes with, and that's all right. But she wasn't stuck in that sense of feeling a failure. I mean, that's quite simple. It's a simplified version of something, but I think we can all understand that and read into that, those instances of us from our own experience. And so this idea of flow is so important, and the idea also of being able to recognize it yourself is so important, and labels that are put on from the outside, in this case it was kind of from her own mother, to be able to challenge them and think about them. And this also goes into the question because I also talk about being able to shape a space inside oneself, not to react, but to respond. And I think this is so difficult. It's like when our child does something that really is annoying and it really like sets us off, like to give ourselves, and who also they demand immediate attention. And we don't really need to give it. We just need to slow down, take a breath, and really count to 10 or to 20. And that will allow us to gather ourselves and not lose our temper or not react, but to respond. And even if it's like, darling, I really can't attend to you at this moment. I just need a few seconds. I need a little bit of time out myself. And just to reason that. And it's so hard. The first time, it takes a lot of time to do it. The first time you do it, it's like, yes. The next time you mightn't do it. But if you do it one time out of 10, you're doing better. And then you will do it again. And it's slow, but it will start to be part of how you mother and how in all your relationships. But it's like giving yourself that space. And I think that's the other part of mothering. It's like we have this thing that we think that we need to give them immediate attention, like that. And I think we really need to change that conversation with ourselves.
Yeah,
And I,
absolutely.
I think that kind of is what we see ourselves as mothers, to be there all the time and to respond all the time straight away. But we need to change that as well.
Yeah, there's so many things running in my brain. I think the first thing for me is going back to the like shame versus guilt conversation. I think when we become moms, whether it's for the first time or the fourth time, I think so much of our motherhood or mothering wounds come up for us, and that whether you had the most incredible mom or an extremely negligent, terrible mom, I think something comes up for all of us that's like, this is how I was raised. I think there's a pivotal moment where you're like, this is how I was raised. Do I want to continue to do it this way? And I think those pivotal moments come in those very small moments, like you said, where it's this like high anxiety, be careful, or it's the taking a moment to be like, okay, how do I want to respond to this? Am I going outside of what my typical norm is that I grew up with? Or am I choosing to stay in that same
Yes. Yes. Yes.
alignment? So I think there's so many different ways that we can approach the shame and guilt part where we're putting the opportunity to choose and giving ourselves
Yes.
space, like you said, to choose what it
Yes.
is that we want to move forward with. Then I feel like it starts to eliminate some of that guilt and shame over the decisions that you've made. Because I know for myself, I make decisions, any decision I feel guilty or shameful about is something that I feel like was influenced in a different
Mm.
way. And I wasn't acting out of my alignment for me, or like you said, that
Yes.
flow of this is what's natural and comfortable for me versus allowing something to come in and kind of help me make that decision. So I think what you're saying, there's so many different ways that we can start to fall in alignment of what's right for us. And I think part of that is giving ourselves the space to say, do I need to respond to this right now? How am I choosing to respond? Is my taking a step back, taking a breath, deciding how I want to respond response enough? Or is there more that needs to come? So I think, and not only is it with our kids, it's with our spouses and our friends and our family. I think there's so much to being able to give yourself that space to make that choice.
Yeah. Wow. That's really, you articulated that so well. And I think that as mothers, maybe we don't grant ourselves that. And I think you're right. I think there is a pivotal moment when we realize that we're actually able to challenge or to think about, to think about how we were brought up. And it goes back to that example from the book. She managed, something didn't feel right. It's what you're saying. It wasn't something genuine from in her and in you. And I think it's really difficult as a mother to be able to look at our own mothering and not look at it in a binary way, because
Yeah.
it's really the same as what I'm talking about with maternal ambivalence, because we really need to look at our the way that we were mothered, all parts of it. And often we do idealize it, or we think it was terrible. And really, but it's all of that. And I think that this goes very much into what I believe is because I think people tend to be binary. They are divided. It's either this or that. And my work is about it's all of it. Or does it exist? It's all of it. It's the clean and the dirty. It's the loving and the bitter. It's all of these things. And I think, though, it's really interesting because I think on those moments that you understand something about how you were mothered, it's also difficult to move out of that binary. But we have to. We have to move out of the binary about how we were mothered to move into our own binary. So I think what you're talking, and it is, we are triggered, and it is an intergenerational process, mothering, and it's just fascinating. And in my other book, I talk about the Greek myth of Demeter and Persephone, and it's just amazing how thousands of years ago it was the same stuff. But hopefully now we're a bit more evolved.
Yeah.
Although
Yeah, I think
Demeter was
so.
quite evolved, yeah, a bit more evolved and able to challenge and have a choice about how we were mothered. But it's not easy. It's
Yeah.
not easy um, to break out of that and to really think outside the box.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are some on the clinical side of things, what are some practical tools that us as mothers can use to continue to move from like self-judgment, self-shame, self-guilt to a little bit more compassion for ourselves?
That's the great words, and I use them all in my book. First of all, again, it's flow. It's like really to think about flow, because it's hard to flow. And even when we talked about that time, that was a break, but when we're in our space, we're able to flow with it. So being very conscious that flow, and that's where forgiveness, self-compassion, self-acceptance, that's all about flow. The other thing that I think, and also forging that space for ourselves, the other thing is to get a few mantras for yourself that really have meaning. Like some of the ones that I use is that mothering is a messy and interrupted experience, and
Yeah.
loving, messy, interrupted, and loving. And I don't think anyone ever told me that. That's not how I went into my first mothering experience 45 years ago. I thought it would be the most wonderful union with me and my child, and that he would do everything that I wanted. Time. I actually remember, you're talking about one of those moments. I remember so clearly my realization, he was about 18 months old or two, that he was actually separate from me. I just remember it. Remember thinking, he's not me. I mean, it was a wonderful thing. And then I spent the next couple of years trying to make him me. But it's so So it's like it would have been great to have been told that it's messy and it's interrupting and it's loving. So it's all those things.
Yeah.
The the other thing the other mantra is that mothering is a series of failures and mistakes and learning from them. I mean, hey, hello?
Yep.
How valuable would that have been?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. One of the things that
Good.
resonates with me in terms of a mantra is that everyone's just winging it, and there's no, I mean, that's kind of the
That's
point
right.
of my
Yes,
podcast, is that
yes,
everyone is doing it differently,
yes.
and there's no
No,
guidebook to how to do
no,
this, and
no.
every kid is different, every parent is different, every situation is different, and everyone else is just winging it. So I think that,
Everyone else.
yeah, I
Yes,
think that's
that's
also helpful to know that I feel like I never have it together, and I'm sure everyone else does too.
yeah, and that's okay, and that's
Yeah.
okay. It's like and that's the problem with thinking of first I wanna say, the other thing, and I'll go back to perfection after this. The other thing is that I believe that 99% of mothers do the best that they can, and we do the best that we can. Our own mothers did the best that they could, and I think it's such a comforting kind of normalizing, mantra or saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's hard for us to see our, like you said, it takes us so long to learn that our families are not just an extension of us. And
Yes,
for me it was learning that my mom was a whole individual, different, independent person before
yes,
I was even born.
yeah,
And she did the best that she could do with what she had at that time. That's been happening for generations, and we're all
of
just doing the
course.
best we can with what we have. And I think that that's kind of a beautiful mantra, to allowing both your mothers of past generations as well as yourself some grace to not be doing
Grace.
it perfectly all the time.
That's right. And really, mothering is not designed to do it perfectly all the time. I mean, we're not robots, we're human beings, and a relationship is a growing entity. And I think this illusion that there can be perfection, which we actually collude with as mothers as well. I mean, I don't understand why. We know we can't be perfect. We know that it's no good, but we still try and do it.
Yep.
It's quite bizarre.
Yeah. Yeah.
But but it's like we're not robots. And I think, in a lot of my clinical work, I I say to people, just bring your bar down.
Yeah.
It's good for everyone. It's good for you. It's good for everyone. Just, give yourself some grace, as you
Mhm.
said, and
Yeah.
be a little bit more forgiving. That's when the moments of life are wonderful and are awful, and that's okay. And I think if we are so busy trying to reach that ideal, we can't be present for
Yeah.
ourselves,
Yeah.
and we can't be present for our children, and we can't be present for anyone. And we kind of, that's what I mean by flow. Once we start being so taken in with expectations and ideals, that's what we're chasing. So, how can we be present? How can we be there? And that's what flow is. It's being there even when it's so difficult and we'd really rather be somewhere else.
Yeah.
But I think as mothers, that's, we chose this. We chose this. I mean, they
Yeah.
didn't ask
Yeah.
to, I really believe that. I think that they didn't ask to be born, and do, we do have to try, we do our best. Most of
Mhm.
us do. Some days we don't. So what?
Yeah.
And most days we try. And I think the thing about mothering, my children are grown up now. I've got one who's 45, one who's 36, and one who's nearly 28. And I just look at them and I'm proud of how they are and how they've turned out. And it's like it's such a different stage now, looking at them and looking at them with their own children.
Well, I'm
And
sure.
it's it's just and I've got my 2 sons both children. And watching my daughter-in-law's mother, it's like it's it's awesome in the real way of thinking about awesome. Like it's awe. I feel
Yeah.
awe.
Yeah.
And I can't believe that I did that. Obviously, I did, but I'm really careful in never judging them. It's their turn to do.
Mhm.
And I don't know what the best is. And I think I'm quite passionate about this part of mothering, that when you mother all your life, it doesn't matter how old your children are, you're still their mother. And I think mothers of older children really have a responsibility to let go. So
Mm.
hard,
Yeah.
let go. And we start that when they're very young, letting
Mhm.
go. But I think it's really important to watch. And if someone asks what you think or advice, I don't give advice. I'd say, well, I might have done this or I may do that, but I don't know. I'm not my it's not my job. But that's and I try and, without saying you're doing a great job, just to give them the sense that I'm actually on their side,
Yeah.
that I love my grandchildren, but it's actually not my job to bring them up. It's my job to have fun with them and really to support their parents.
Yeah. And this is the perfect pivot to my next question, which was, obviously, we know that raising children in a village, whether it's our community or we've chosen these people to be around us or their extended family, who we choose to be in our immediate circle during these like pivotal mothering parenthood times can either ease this ambivalence, as you say, or amplify it. How would you suggest people kind of figure out how to navigate that, figure out how to choose the right people, and
Mhm.
maybe the right people are not your family, and
Mm.
how to handle that situation, all at the goal of feeling good and positive about the way that you're choosing to bring up your family?
Right. Okay. Well, two comments about that. First of all, ambivalence is something positive. And I need to say that again, because ambivalence is misunderstood. Like, people think that it's something you can't decide, or it's blended feelings, or something negative. I'm disrupting this and I'm turning it into something positive. It's a place of turmoil, but actually ends up being something that we can learn from.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the other, I mean, it's fantastic what you said, and so important and crucial about the people that you surround yourself with. And I think my understanding of this is that as mothers, we've kind of got an antenna,
Mhm.
and we kind of know people that give us energy and who are on our side. And equally, we know that where people aren't. And
Yes.
what I would say about this is, let's use our antenna. And if there's people that aren't really going to refuel us and make us
Mm.
feel supported and not judge us, very importantly, they're the people that we really need to surround ourselves with. And I think it's so important, you know, the community, whatever it is that you choose, that you do feel comfortable. You feel comfortable to be open with them, and you feel that you're safe to be open and to be honest with yourself and with them, and your child picks this up. And so, in effect, it's really our responsibility as mothers to make sure that we are around people that are good for us. And sometimes the people that we went to school with, that we laughed at through college or through school, they may not be the people. And also because, of course, now it's more complicated, because usually there's a partnership and there might be a
Yeah.
child, and this person mightn't like your partner, or there's a whole so many, as you said, complex like things. But I think we all know how we feel, and sometimes we choose to ignore it. But I think that the other, whether it be your partner, whether it be your mother, whether it be an aunt, a friend, whoever is there to support you, is crucial. And that you build a community around that, is that where you feel safe.
Mm.
I often talk about when my first child was about maybe 2 or 3, we had a play group. This was like before cell phones, if you could believe it. And so we'd make an arrangement to go to someone else's place like at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We'd sit around the kitchen table with our kids on the floor, no phones. The kids were playing with real toys. But it was such a beautiful feeling of feeling supported, and it was organic. And it was like a village. And I think today that the social media makes that much more difficult because we get flashes of all this nonsense of mothers going to school, they're fully dressed up with their makeup done and their clothes and not hassled. That doesn't happen. If you've been preparing a child to go to school since
Yes.
6 o'clock in the morning, you don't look like that.
Yes.
And I think that's the other thing. I mean, social media technology is wonderful. If we didn't have it, we wouldn't be here today. But I think once again, we need to look at that with a critical eye. When I say critical, I'm not saying judgmental, I'm saying challenging eye.
Yeah.
And in the same way as we need to look at who we surround ourselves with at this time of our lives, and the same way as we've got to think about our responses. It's all these challenging stroke critical thinking where we kind of, as you said, you use the word choose, where you kind of make choices. You can make choices of a couple of different feelings, of course, but you're making some analysis.
Yeah, and I think you're totally spot on with the social media. I think having kind of a discerning eye as to
Discerning.
this is who I'm going to follow, this is who I'm not, this is what I'm just going to swipe past. I think we're all hopefully getting to a space where we're like, okay, not all of it is real. And
Yes.
I think it's tough to look at these influencers and pages and account. I mean, even our friends who were like, "Oh my god, their life is perfect," or "Look at them doing XYZ." Just because that's the picture that they've posted doesn't mean anything, really. And so I think being able to be discerning about what you're taking in is just as important as what you're putting out.
Definitely. And I love that word, discerning. I think that that's really a great word for that.
Yeah, and it can be hard, but
It is. But as a mother, that's really what we're doing all day.
yeah.
Especially when you're as a hands-on new mum, you're really discerning, you're really filtering, you're really and explaining and when you're filtering or you're discerning, you're kind of doing it with your whole soul and your whole body, and it's like it's exhausting.
Yeah.
So as well as having a child that's exhausting some of the time,
Yeah.
you're trying to break through so many things and understand things and once again feel right about something. Like
Yeah.
it's that it's that feeling that it's okay and it's not perfect, but
Mhm.
it's okay. It's right enough. I've discerned all this and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, right enough. I love that.
Right enough.
Yeah.
It's right
So
enough.
I would love to just with a few minutes left talk a little bit about your writing process. Obviously,
Okay.
you have had some experience writing being a doctor.
Hmm.
Well, firstly, how did you decide how this book was going to look and what did the process look like for you?
Okay.
Both the good, bad and the ugly.
Okay. I love that you're writing. I love that you're asking me this question about writing because I love writing. Actually, at high school, it wasn't really my thing. I never thought I would go into writing. It wasn't really I was more kind of science driven.
Okay.
I like math, but then I did social work. And then I think that when I always had, as I said, I wanted to find out about taboo topics. And I think I got this idea, and I can't remember when, but I really had this idea that one day I wanted to do a PhD. I don't know where I got it from. Anyway, I decided. So I decided, yeah, I'm going to do it. I did a master's thesis on infertility, but it was actually a book. And
Mm.
I actually really enjoyed the process of writing. But once I got to my PhD, I decided that I loved it. And when I saw my professor, I didn't know how to write. She said to me, just go to some material that you like and unpack it. What's she talking about? So I read some things and I I kind of understood kind of what she was talking about. So I wrote a few things. I think I took maybe 6 or 7 paragraphs, and I took them to her, and she said yes or no. Then I had to unpack it. And it was like, it's the sense of someone writes something, you have to unpack it. You have to think about it in your own voice. So that was my first lesson on writing. And then because I was doing a PhD, it was quite structured. It was like the research and there was structure. And what I decided to do was I had to figure out how I was going to do this, how I was going to use my time. And everyone used to say it's PhD is terrible. I hated it, blah, blah, blah. So I didn't really think too much. I just started. I went to some course it was at New South Wales University, and someone told me, this is quite bizarre, but the person said, the first thing you've got to do is time yourself. Bullshit. If you're going to do a couple of hours, time yourself. Don't go for a cup of coffee in the middle of it. Don't go for a walk. Just time yourself. So what I did, this is a bit embarrassing. I used to use my phone and time myself. And I decided that I would do 3 hours a day. And I wanted to do it early in the morning because my brain was just much more alive. I knew at first thing in the morning, although when I was at university, I used to stay up late, but I just started to realize my brain was good first thing in the morning. So I would get up early, like before anyone else got up, because I wanted to also have a time that wasn't interrupted. So I took my phone, and then often, like after half an hour, I'd need to get a drink. So I'd turn it off, go and get the drink, and turn it back on, and turn it off, and turn it on. And I managed to somehow, even though I might have got up at 6, I put aside that morning 6 to 12, and I managed to get 3 hours out of it. And I did that every day for about 15 years. I wrote my PhD, then I wrote a book, and it was like I loved it because it also, and this is interesting for mothering as well, I knew that I had that space that I had to dedicate to that, and it freed me for the rest of the time. So I think what I'm saying is it's hard in mothering to have a little bit of space for yourself. You probably don't get 3 hours, but if you get 15 minutes and it's a good 15 minutes, then that can help you with the rest of your day. Okay. And then with the writing process, and some people say with writing, you need to write words. That didn't work for me. I used time. So I made sure that I did the 3 hours. Some days I got nothing done, but I spent the 3 hours. I wrote, or it just didn't come. But then the 6th day it came, or the 8th day, and then I found a sentence and it all came. So it's like, I think I was able to be patient, to flow with it. And the main thing is that I enjoyed it. So there we have it. There was interruptions, there was ups and downs. But I think what I learned is that I didn't want to limit myself with time. I was in the situation that, okay, if it took a year longer, then it took a year longer. It didn't matter. You can't really talk about that with mothering, except there is an irony in mothering, because I think when we try so hard to fit everything in to a timetable, we do lose something. And so I'm really saying that about mothering as well. Like, it's not all everything on the watch and the clock, because when we do, sometimes we miss the valuable part.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such an incredible parallel that you kind of have to, one, watch your time. You have to,
Yeah.
and if you're not aware of the time passing or where you're at, I think it's hard to be able to keep moving forward.
Yeah, and that's the flow.
Yeah.
But the flow is sometimes doing little things that are meaningless, but they end up being so meaningful.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny. I'm like thinking of all these times with my son that I've been like so concerned about like what time is it? We need to be quick, whatever, that resulted in me taking a step back and saying, okay, let's embrace where we are. One of them specifically is a day that we had to be somewhere. We were outside running late, and my son was outside. We're sitting on a blanket, and I was like, you know what? We're going to have a popsicle. Once we're done with this popsicle, we're going to get going. This kid, this was over at the beginning of the summer. Anytime he sees this blanket, talks about the time that we sat down and had this popsicle together. And in the
I'm getting
moment, I was
chills.
just like so ready to go to the next thing and like we have this going on and moving, that it's such an incredible reminder that like just slow down a bit. And I feel like that's kind of what you've been getting at with
Yeah,
the
yeah,
writing, but as well as just motherhood in general.
yeah. And what's so fascinating about your story is he told you, but you listened.
Mm,
It's
yeah.
really fascinating that
Yeah.
the synergy and the flow between the 2 of you, and
Yeah.
what a great story.
Yeah. That's so crazy. Yeah. So, anything else on motherhood in general or the book Maternal Ambivalence that you want listeners to know about?
Okay, the real thing I want people to know about my book is the other part of writing was, which I loved, was coming up with the title. I knew it was gonna be about maternal ambivalence, but I loved I loved getting that title, and I had a placeholder that was, like, disrupting motherhood. It just wasn't right, and what I did one day is I sat down for my 3 hours, and I just wrote down all the things, like, from the top of my head, which I did a lot, by the way, when I was writing. I used to, if I woke up in the middle of the night, I'd just write something into my iPhone, not what you're meant to be doing, and then I could go back to sleep, but a lot of ideas and a lot of things just flowed. Anyway, in this on this day, I just sat down. I loved every minute of it, and it just came. The loving moments and bitter truths of motherhood. And I love the title. I think it just captures it captures really what it is.
Yeah,
And
everything.
it captures everything, and it gives permission for that bitterness, and it's okay. And I think that's my job, to normalize this. And when there's mums like you and people like you that really get it, then that's so fantastic. And I think it also goes back to who you surround yourself with.
Mhm.
Because if people look at this book and judge it and say to me, bitter, well, I couldn't care now because I'm old enough and I don't care.
Yeah.
But when you're hands on mothering, you
Yeah.
think about it. And if someone can't admit that there's some bitterness, then they're not really being genuine,
Mm,
or there's something in their own past that they can't come to
get
terms
past.
with.
Yep. Yep.
And I think it's sad because I think that's life and that's all right. And my kids look at this and they probably think, what's she talking about? But it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one of the good things about being an older mother, that you kind of, after a while, it's like, I did my best. I'm okay. I don't love everything I did, but okay, really did what I could do.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've loved getting to chat with you. I think
Yes,
that this
thank you.
is really going to resonate with, if not every, most moms in that there is this push and pull, and the negatives or bitterness help you through to the positives as well.
Yes,
So,
yeah,
yeah, I've loved chatting with you.
me
Can
too.
you
Thank you.
tell listeners where they can find you, website, social media, and
Yeah.
where they can find your book?
Okay. Okay. Go to my website, Margo at drmargolowy.com. Everything's there. I do social media. The book is like a book you can pick up. It's got an index. You can pick it up and put it down. I think it's a fairly easy read. I thought it was. And I mean, one thing I didn't say, which I'm going to say about when I was writing this book, I didn't, I'd done an academic book before. And what I decided with this book is I actually didn't go to the book. It just flowed from my feelings and my thoughts. And I think that's probably the power of this book, because it just flows, and it's asked questions and it poses questions. And I'm not the expert on everything, and I want to listen to everyone's own understanding of their own mothering. So that's what I do.
Yeah. Well, I love it. Thank you so much for being here. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time.
Thank you. It was
That's it for today's episode of the Mama Making Podcast. If this conversation resonated with you, share it with a friend, leave a review, or follow us on social media. We love hearing what's landing for you. And most importantly, keep making your way through. You're never in this alone. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time.